I'm in heaven. I get to be in a room full of B2B marketing geeks, and now I need to spend the next 30 minutes changing you into B2B mobile geeks. By the way, did anyone here happen to bring a smartphone or a cell phone with them today? Yeah. Anyone remember the last time you left that smartphone or that cell phone at home and all of a sudden you were on the way to work and you thought, OMG, I left my limb at home. Who here turned back around and went and got, yeah. There's a new actual phrase for it. It's called no-mo-phobia. It is the phobia that we as humans get when we have no mobile devices. Anyhow, Christina CK Curley, everyone calls me CK for short. I am a loud and proud marketing geek. I am lucky enough to be alive during a time when I've seen not just one, digital, not just two, social, but the headline are 3 mobile innovations in my lifetime. And so it's amazing to try and keep up with all these changes. And I know it can get really overwhelming, but let's remember, it could have been that this 30-minute slot that I would have taken up could have been on discussing how to get creative with, gasp, the fax machine. So let's be really excited about this mobile revolution and what all it means, because we're not going to be talking about that dang fax machine. You know, as marketers, the root of the word is market. And folks, our markets are drastically and permanently changing. And as marketers, we have to align and adjust to this. Now, all those marketers that create all those fancy gadgets and iPads and Galaxy Samsung smartphones and Galaxy Notes, they want you to think that the mobile revolution is about devices. And those devices are cool and cutting edge, and I just can't buy enough cute shoes, enough cute bags, and enough cute mobile devices and jackets. But the true mobile revolution, if you remember one thing from the speech today, is that it's not about devices. It is about anytime, anywhere media, and how that changes us, BTW, us is our customers and prospects, and how we need to change. Anyone remember or lately been in a dead zone where it takes a really, really long time for things to load on your phone, and you're sitting there and you're waiting for 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds to get to a darn web page? Anyone here thinking expletives when that's happening and you're waiting? Raise your hand. I'm a New Yorker, so I actually say the expletives. Guys, we need to remember that our customers are searching for our information as well. Anytime, anywhere, all the time. That is a new expectation, and we ain't going back. In fact, 6 billion mobile subscriptions worldwide between smartphones, feature phones, iPads, all sorts of devices. Anyone here know how many human beings on that big round rock, third from the sun, we call planet Earth? Anyone here know? 7 billion as of Halloween this past year. And there are 6 billion mobile devices. We have never seen a media ascendancy like this. In fact, there are more mobile devices than there are all TVs, all PCs, and all landlines in all the world. 3 weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to spend 2 weeks in Asia, which, by the way, is at least 7 years ahead of us on mobile. And they were saying, well, of course mobile is first screen. You know, our wireless lines outnumber our wired lines by 14-1. We've just never seen a media take off, and so quickly so, but how it changes the behaviors in us. Let me give some figures. Anyone remember that Super Bowl story that was a Cinderella story in 2010 with the New Orleans Saints taking it? That was the most watched television event in history in America, had 106.7 million viewers. Anyone here know how much it costs to do a 30 or 60-second ad during said Super Bowl just for the media time alone? That's 2% compared to mobile's 6 billion subscriptions. Hey, Facebook, he even got a movie. He was Time's Man of the Year, and he's had a great IPO and a lot of respect. But guys, 850 million users, that's 14%. And the reason Facebook and Twitter continue to grow so well is because now that we have these social networks, whether for business reasons like I use them, or for personal reasons, it's not like we say, well, I'll wait till I get home and then I'll check on my big desktop or laptop screen and then I'll check in on my social networks. No, the killer app, well, here in America, the killer app for iPhone is Facebook. The killer app for Droid is Twitter. By the way, in developing countries, they're actually using these devices, these magical mobile devices, for things like mHealth. It's advancing nations. For things like banking. You know, here we're like Angry Birds, Word with Friends, all that cool stuff. But this mobile, this magical little device, which it's not about the device, it's about anytime, anywhere media, is really making a dent, both on the B2B and the B2C side. Here's the biggest irony of all. We finally have a way to talk anytime, anywhere, all the time. And guess what? All we want to do is text. This is the killer app in mobile. It's amazing. It's not apps. It's SMS. And has anyone noticed how we like truncate all our speech these days? Like instead of saying I'm doing great in a text, it's I'm doing GR8. Or I'll see you before the convention. Letter B, number 4. And yet, the one thing that we use more than ever, check this out over the next week and a half, exclamation points. The singular exclamation point is like obsolete. Just watch, it's amazing. But now we have 7 trillion text just in 2011. 183 billion apps to be downloaded in 2015, and here's a cherry on that sundae. The new web, Gartner says, in as short as 1 year, as long as 36 months is going to be what? On these devices. Show of hands, who here has a mobile optimized site? A site that is completely unique and created for this small environment. Because guess who is looking at your site on these small devices? Your customers, okay? Understand that in as little as 1 year and as far away as 3 years, this is the new web. I don't use this slide, by the way, when I go over to Asia because it's already over 50% of the way that business executives as well as consumers use the web are these small devices. It's already the #1 way. Show of hands, who here has checked their smartphone or their tablet? Won't hurt my feelings at all. In fact, you'll prove my point. Just during the time that I took the stage up here. Who here has checked for emails? There you go. Guys, we are a multitasking, multiple conversation world. You know, people say to me, is mobile really right for business executives, CK? And I say, when was the last time you had a conversation with your boss, with your colleague, with your work partner, where they weren't constantly checking their mobile devices at the same time? A business executive without a mobile device is like the Loch Ness Monster. It doesn't exist or is rarely seen. Guys, B2B and mobile equals BFF. There has never been a better media for us to use as marketers, and we're going to go through a lot of content tips, worry not, to use than these magical devices. And by the year 2015, each American is expected to have at least 6 wireless devices each, between tablets and smartphones and superphones. And everyone's like, wow, mobile. And I'm like, here's the thing. Within 3 years, mobile will not be a differentiator. Nope. Cost of entry. That's it. That's it. Because again, we're already at 6 billion. By 2020, Sony Ericsson says 50 billion mobile connections worldwide. 50 billion between each of us having more than one, if not 10, between machine to machines talking to one another. Have you guys heard how your toaster is going to talk to your refrigerator? What the hell are they going to say? I have no idea. Anyhow, but all of these things are going to be mobile enabled. So understand, Within 36 months, it's not that mobile's a differentiator, and it's not the devices. Mobile will be the cost of entry, A, and B, it's at any time, anywhere media changes the game for us. And if it changes the game for us, and it changes behavior, well, we just happen to be marketers. And guess what we marketers need to do when our folks change behaviors? We need to align, adjust. You know, I love to throw out all these numbers, these 50 billion and these 6 billion. Heck, I've been in front of a lot of boardrooms during social media times trying to get them to wrap their head around that 5 years ago. So I get to go in all armed with these big numbers. But what I say is the most important number when it comes to mobile is 1. Who here used their smartphone to set an alarm to wake up today to get to this conference? Oh, you guys took your smartphones to bed with you, did you? Folks, this is the one device that is always on, that is always connected to the web, that is always with our audiences unless the battery life goes down. That's my big complaint on mobile. And it's the one that we use the most. But even though it's the most pervasive, this is what will test our mettle as marketers, folks. It is the most personal medium. ESPN has done a masterstroke here because I, if I were a sports fan, can go ahead and subscribe to a stream of alerts to my fantasy football league or to a certain event or to certain breaking news. It makes it personal to me. When I go on to the Robitussin.com website, not app, the first thing it asks me is, are you for an adult, for a child? What are the symptoms? It makes it personal to me. If you can personalize the mobile experience, and yes, feel intoxicated by the major numbers of 6 billion and 50 billion, but if you can think personal with your audience, what you can do is you can cultivate, sustain, and develop relationships that are critical to ROI. You know, all my B2C brethren say to me, what is so sexy about B2B, CK? Why are you in B2B? And I'm like, because I'm not the airline that's looking to sell 5 million flights at $200 a pop. I'm the aircraft developer that's looking to sell 200 aircraft a year at 60 million a pop. I win. Here's the thing. These relationships, we have fewer of them that spend more money with us. No, they are critical to us. So why wouldn't we use mobile to make these relationships better, deeper? And I'll go through some items here. Yep, mobile plus B2B equals BFF. I'm telling you, there has never been a better set of media. Where's Michael that just talked about video? Okay, my man Michael. I use video like crazy. Actually, I just launched a new one yesterday on success factors in mobile, and you can get it through my mobile site or desktop site, and I'm telling you, it works perfectly in the mobile environment. Because has anyone here ever read their emails on their iPhones or their Androids? You ever read a really, really long email? Not so fun. But if you can go ahead and deliver content a la video, it's perfect for the mobile environment. And folks, I do believe you're like me and you use a lot of thought leadership and a lot of content marketing in your plans and programs. Through mobile, you can do it all. I'll show you a lot of examples. Because mobile isn't only a nice-to-have consumer device, it's a must-have business tool. You know, I'm talking about mobile, and I'm talking about a revolution for sure, but what I'm really talking here is the bigger story that's global. It is a 24/7, 365 world. Here's a dirty little secret about all this technology. We have more ways to have more conversations to streamline more of our workflow, and we're busier than ever because we have to stay on top of more. We have to stay up to speed. We are responsible, and it's a competitive advantage or a competitive disadvantage if we don't stay up to speed. And how do we stay on the know of all that we have to stay on top of, whether we're at work, in transit, or at the park with our kids on Saturday? And the answer is mobile. Mobile apps to surpass traditional enterprise apps. This is an IBM quote by 2015. Just think about how much more remote we're becoming as a society, so it starts to make a lot of sense. And execs under 40 that view mobile as their primary tool, 70%. I can't believe the number is that low. Folks, could you imagine, maybe a weekend, but could you imagine going a week of your life without having remote access technologies? We just ain't going back. In fact, we're going in the other direction. So I call mobile B2B's lifeline to our livelihoods. Here's one thing I want to make sure that I get across, and I get across well. It's not that we're changing our technology to mobile. That's the real story and the takeaway for we as marketers. It's how mobile is changing us. And the reason mobile is changing us is because anytime, anywhere media gives us new expectations. I expect to be able to find out where I need to be able to go through GPS anytime, anywhere. Here's a question. 10 years ago, before GPS, was it that we just always got lost all the time? And does anyone else feel really stressed out when their DVR is full of 80 hours of backlog television because you swore you were going to? Okay, all right. We now have new expectations. We expect what we want, when we want it, at the moment we want it, and that's not fast enough. We have new preferences. Out of consumer searches on a mobile device, searching for a consumer product, 60% of the time winds up in a purchase within 1 to 3 hours. We have new habits. We are now constantly connected, and it's altogether normal for us to check our email from these small devices. But most important is that we have new thresholds. In the last 3 years, the threshold for a web page to load has gone from 4 seconds to 2. Do you really think that our executives, our important executive audiences say, well, if it's on a laptop, my threshold is 2 seconds. But if it's on an iPhone or an Android, I could wait 6 to 8 minutes. And here's a really important thing. Google got really smart, and SEO results on the mobile web, which, pop quiz, 1 to 3 years, mobile web, #1 first screen internet for all searching. The quicker your mobile site downloads is going to affect your mobile search results, and I totally respect them for that. Because you know what? Why do you want to wait for a really, really large image or heavy image to load? We want things quick. Our thresholds are shorter. We're more impatient. We have more tools. We're in charge of a big old globe. Fact is, the revolution, and I know, we marketers, guilty as charged, love saying things like, oh, it's innovative. A revolution is coming. Oh, it's groundbreaking. No, really, it is this time. But folks, this time, I mean it. Because this time, our behavior has changed so much. And when I say our behavior, I mean as consumers, and I certainly mean as executives. So the question is, what are B2B's imperatives? And I'm going to go through 3. First and foremost, you must optimize content for the unique mobile environment. This is tactical as can be, but it's a must-do. Not having a mobile-optimized website in the year 2012 is the same as not having a desktop website in the year 2000. And I'm going to go through some tips here. Number 2, I want you to reimagine that really strong, robust B2B marketing content through mobile tools. You know, I love apps, but we are an app-happy world because apps get 80%, if not 100%, the lion's share of press coverage. And yet there's all these tools available to us, and I'll go through several. And third, if you want to win over B2B audiences, this is the video that I just aired yesterday, the way you're going to get them is better, faster, and easier. I want everything in my life better, faster, and easier. I promise you, so do your executives. So number 1, optimizing optimizing content for the unique mobile environment. I'm going to use my own sites here as an example. You'll notice that I'm looking to tell you to make sure and optimize for the right experience for right now. So if my audience Actually, pull up the site on your iPads and pull them up on your iPhones and Androids, and you get two different experiences. Still consistent, okay? Still download quickly, but I'm optimizing for my users' needs. And Michael, just so you know, videos, I get more pulls on my videos from my mobile device than I do the desktop device. Why? Video is perfect for the mobile environment. You know, B2Bs, we have complex text and ideas and processes. And video is a beautiful way to explain that, especially on these small devices. Or best practices and thought leadership. I can pop in my earbuds on my layover between Denver and Detroit, and I can take in a best practices series and smarten up before I need to take my next flight and watch it on video and listen on audio. It's perfect because it's the one device that's always on, always connected to the web, and always with me. So guys, think about this when you're optimizing your experience for your users for the mobile device. And remember this, mobile users' needs are different. For example, if you pull up JetBlue on your iPad, on your desktop, you got a lot of space. You got navs where you can check frequent flyer miles, you can look for different flights, you can add on a hotel. But when I'm going on JetBlue.com from my magical mobile device, I have basically one question and one question only. And do you know what that question is? Is my flight on time? Which it's usually not. But I'm pulling up JetBlue.com. They have an app and a mobile website. You can look at it. And they have looked at their user needs, and they've said the first thing on their nav is what? Flight status. And the airlines, easy to gripe and bag on them, I get it, but I'll show some examples later. They've done a beautiful job of streamlining processes and BTW saving money in the process to streamline through mobile for the user experience. And don't just think text. I'm like, perfect after your speech. I'm like sitting here, perfect after your speech, great lineup. Seriously, guys, use a video. When you're thinking, how do I deliver this information? How can I get this across to my users? How can I get this complex text across in these small little screens? Video, audio, they are your best friends. And optimize all marketing content. Here's the thing, and here's the thing. It's not just our websites. It's also landing pages. It's also emails, because we're never sure how our users and through which devices they're going to be accessing us. We're just lucky in a 24/7 world with all these competitors a click away. We're just lucky they're accessing us at all. And so when they do, we want the experience to be exemplary. They might just be accessing our newsletters through, like you do every day, through their smartphones. So what you need to do is make sure and have at the top reading this on a mobile device, and you're able to give them, and it may not be as pretty an experience, but it's a legible experience. So we always have to start thinking mobile as well. But soon, within 1 to 3 years, we're going to have to start thinking mobile first. I was speaking at, of all places, the United Nations, not the room where like they solve world peace, but I've got some ideas on that. But in the other room, when we talk about all the humanitarian causes and the communications, and they know, since, well, they actually are ones that target the world. I always say to marketers, you're not marketing to the whole world. BTW and the UN, they actually are. I said the one device that all the world has, it's mobile. And they said, we're going to actually, as a result of this discussion, start building out on the mobile environment first and then going to desktop. And it made a lot of sense for them. But to build out in the mobile environment does not mean just copying, pasting what you have. It means optimizing. It means thinking like your users do. And in order to do that, we need to ask them what their needs are. We need to track those click streams. We need to see if our hypotheses are correct. So we actually can use mobile to get closer to customers. Now here I want to talk about reimagining your B2B marketing content through mobile tools. Because if you're like me, you have a lot of thought leadership initiatives, whether they're articles, whether they're thought leadership papers, whether they're position papers, whether they're interviews, whether they're trade shows. And there's a lot of ways to use mobile to reimagine that content and to improve that ROI. And there are many tools that are perfect for B2B content. Folks, you're going to be hearing a lot about apps, and apps are awesome. But there's more to mobile than just apps. And we're just at the beginning of mobile, and yet there are so many choices available to us. Whether it's SMS, whether it's video, whether it's mobile websites, whether it's apps, augmented reality, and more. There are a ton of choices available to us. New ways to initiate and extend dialogues with audiences. Guys, think about SMS, text alerts, or MMS, which is like videos as well as graphical alerts. If you already have an e-newsletter, if you're already communicating with your audience in that way, what kind of information, don't overload the channel, what kind of information could you be sharing with them once a week, no more than 3 times a week, that would make them better at their jobs? Maybe they need to know of new partnerships. Maybe they need to know of new applications. But how could you extend the dialogue in a way that would make them better at what they do? By the way, over 95% of all text in all the world are read, over 95%, that's because you opt in, and read within 3 minutes of receipt. Those are stunning numbers, right? That's because all those users are opting in. Collateral. Does everyone here know what a QR code is? Everyone here notice these kind of weird graphics? Guys, use collateral codes, use QR codes to give audiences more depth and more convenience. I use them on my business card and I link to a mobile website. But you might use them in an article that then links to a video. Things don't have to be flat anymore. It doesn't just have to be the article. You could extend the conversation. Or maybe you'd use a QR code to have them then subscribe to a set of SMS alerts. You can get really creative. I love what Southwire Cable did. Here's a really smart use of video. Not only do they have their print advertisements, traditional, their print advertisements feature the QR code that then links to a video, but it's not Southwire saying how great they are. It's their customers talking about them. UPS did a beautiful mobile campaign about 3 years ago. You guys might have heard of the UPS campaign around That's Logistics. It goes to the That's Amore song. And what they did was they would have ads about logistics on very popular mobile websites like the New York Times. But when I, as a user, would click on those ads, I would be brought to a testimonial by a customer. Because one thing when we say, hey, we're great. It's another thing when others say we're great and that we're moving the needle. So there's all sorts of ways to use these different tools. Transform B2B trade show information. I'm not sure about you guys, but if you've been to trade shows like in Vegas and like in Los Angeles, and the first thing you get when you go to the trade show is one of those multi-fold maps, kind of like when you get the New York subway, that never, ever, ever fold back the same way. I don't care what anyone says, they just don't. The engineers, I'm like, they were evil creating those maps. Forget printing cost. Go to an app. And you know what? Be smarter than the rest of the marketers who've used apps before you at trade shows and extend the dialogue after. Because it shouldn't just be a finite app that you use once a year and then update the next year. What it can be is, and now that you've left the conference, why can't we all stay in touch? Or getting SMS alerts on new industry information. And that way it's money really well spent. And you ever notice it's when you do those really large runs of print information and brochures that you find the typo out at the 11th hour after the run has happened? Here you don't have to worry. It's digital. You can always correct it. But what is the one device that we know that our B2B audience always has on them, always connected to the web, and uses the most? Mobile. So here you could use it for trade shows. Another great example, here's an example through Mayo Clinic app. What I love about tablets, be they iPad, or be they Galaxy, or be they Motorola and the like, is that they allow us room as marketers to combine text, audio, images, and videos into an exemplary experience where you can take all of your existing thought leadership folks. You can take all that you've worked so hard on and reimagine it into an app that gives your audience, whatever sector they're in, information, and you can be on their most personal mobile device and keep that relationship going and be like a magazine-esque. But there's a lot of different ways to use these mobile tools and devices. Okay, this is one I love. Thomson Reuters just came out with a legal-specific app, okay? And what the user can do as a lawyer is decide what type of news they need to follow while they're on the go. So I say keep them in the know while they're on the go. And what Thomson Reuters is doing as B2B, it's targeting lawyers, is keeping its very important, very critical business audience happy on the go through short bits and bytes of information. Because again, no matter when the news is happening, no matter what time, we're responsible for knowing this because it is our livelihood and our competitive advantage to stay on top of and in the know no matter where we're at. That's in beta, by the way, but you should download it. I always say increase productivity through friction-free mobile experiences. Cisco's WebEx now has a beautiful interface for smartphone as well as iPad environment. And what they don't want to do is to not be able to serve their market when their market is remote. And what they've done is they are looking at iPad and smartphone as now becoming first screen for these WebEx meetings. Because sales forces and sales teams and marketing teams are dispersed. So in this sense, an app makes a lot of sense for a smartphone as well as iPad environment. USA Today, who here has stayed at different hotels and had the USA Today newspaper outside their door? Okay, it's the nation's newspaper. And USA Today, you know, really hard being a newspaper these days in the last 5 years with everyone saying print is dead. Like literally the headlines on top of newspaper is print is dead. But USA Today and newspapers, their core value proposition, it's not print, it's content. And one thing USA Today has done really well is to be able to cull content from different regions. So USA Today has to think, my number one audience is executives. How could I use mobile? I mean, with Foursquare and all these Angry Birds, how could this possibly move the needle for our organization? Well, USA Today knows that its executives do a lot of traveling. And I, as an executive, may travel to Boston one week, to Boise the next week, and to Los Angeles the next week. Well, through their partnership with Gowalla, I can download region-specific content to me whenever I need it. So I touch down, and I'm in Boise, and I can get a jet setter pen between Gowalla, the application, and USA Today, the company, and I can get region-specific information and content that I need at the time I need it. But the next week, I may need region-specific information for LA, or I may need region-specific information for New Orleans. But then I, as an executive, now have a new way to access the core value proposition of USA Today, the content. So it's a really smart move, and most important, they're experimenting through mobile tools and devices. And number 3, if you want to win over B2B audiences, 3 words, folks. Better, faster, easier. This is your litmus test. This is your mantra for success. Let me explain. First, with better, okay? The way to use mobile is to make things better for your audiences. So I'm going to give the airlines some love. I love that for a tweet. CK actually gave the airlines some love. Okay, because you don't see a lot of tweets giving a lot of love to the airlines. Folks, why is my experience as an executive flyer made better through mobile? A, I can buy a ticket for the airlines through their mobile site, or I can check my flight status. B, I can subscribe to a stream of SMS alerts that tell me an hour ahead of time, 40 minutes ahead of time, 20 minutes ahead of time, is my flight on time, or is it going to be a layover? And C, I can now have, it's so funny getting an e-ticket. It's called an e-ticket, but you print the darn thing out. I mean, does anyone else find that ironic? Is it just me? Okay, anyhow, asides, I can take my QR code and easily, breezily get through the gate. So what the airlines have done, and they ain't no fools, they're saving money doing this. They've made my trip, my experience, have less friction and be an easier process. Okay? So what they've done is they've taken a step back and said, how can we use mobile across the entire user experience to A, improve the experience and increase the happiness factor for our executive and consumer audiences, and B, how can we save money in the process? Who here has used this app from Chase with printed checks? It's phenomenal. Okay, let me just explain this. Believe it or not, some of us still get printed checks. This is a happy day. If I get money in the account through a disbursement electronically or a printed check, or just, heck, give me the green right there, I'm happy, okay? But some of us still get printed checks, right? And you know what? It's a pain to have to go to the ATM, even though I know the ATMs are selling out their proposition by saying you don't have to actually fill out a deposit slip anymore. It's still a pain to go to the ATM, okay? Or go to the bank branch to deposit it. I'm happy to go through the pain because it's a good day when I get that money. But what Chase, and actually credit unions started doing this, is they have an app where you endorse the back of the check, you pop open the app, you take a picture of the front and the back of the app, and guess what? The money really gets there. Were you worried the first time you did it? The money? Me too. And I'm like in mobile, and I was worried. And my sister was like, but what do I do with the check? And I'm like, save it for memorabilia. Because guys, and I'm sure you're hearing a lot about how our phones are going to become, the new Google Wallet, and that's cool. And it makes sense that they should be, the new wallet because they're always on us. But while the banks are trying to get you really excited and Google's trying to get you really excited that it's the Google wallets because they're going to make a lot of money on each transaction. Anyhow, the point is that I am now having a faster, better, easier way to do banking because I don't have to interrupt my day. And I'll tell you, a lot of banks are doing this. It started with a credit union, but Chase, in my opinion, best marketing campaign around it. They've just done the best job of marketing in it. But when it comes to busy, time-starved audiences, make it better, faster, and easier. And Chase ain't no fool. It's much easier for processes that are quick than to have to go ahead and hire more tellers. But it's made our lives better, faster, and easier. Easier. Anyone here ever used Regus for temporary office space? It's a wonderful company. It's over 80 countries. And what Regus does is it offers temporary office space, temporary conference rooms for a day, for a week, wherever I'm at. Singapore, Sydney, San Francisco, matters not. But one thing they have done beautifully on top of excellent customer service is they have an app where I can pour through information or I just click on the icon for what's called augmented or blended reality, where I use the camera area of my screen and I just scan the area in front of me, and I can literally see, here you see the screenshot I took in Midtown? I literally see where there are office spaces relevant and relative to where I'm standing that have openings for me to rent them for a day, for an hour, for a week, and I can just click on them. Because while these little devices are magical, we also don't want to have to type in a lot. So augmented reality is wonderful. When I was in Hong Kong, I used an app where I could just scan the area in front of me, and it would show me where I could go to do shopping, to get restaurants. No longer are we going to need to actually look at like a New York Times section for real estate. What we're going to do is New York Times is going to have a layer, and we can just scan the area in front of us, just like we're looking through our camera, wherever we're at, in the West Village, in Midtown, and it says, cute one-bedroom, I'm for rent. Or we can scan Restaurant Row here in Midtown Manhattan, and it can tell me if it's ladies' night, or if it's 2 for 1 for dinner, or whatnot. Everything becomes another way to have a deeper conversation with your audience. But if you want to win over B2B audiences, I promise you, better, faster, easier. Because all these devices and all these tools, they really are cool, but guess what? Our lives are harder. We're in charge of more. Our competition is greater because when there's a lot of free networks and when it gets really inexpensive to do video, guess what? Becomes a very noisy world. So we have to, as marketers, make sure that we're increasing value and we're rising above that noise through really core principles, folks. Through delivering value, through positioning, through differentiation, through things that you learned in the 1970s and match them with the new media. So, remember, far from just a media, the revolution around mobile is because it's changed our behavior, our preferences, our expectations, and our thresholds so dramatically. And by our, I mean us. And by us, I don't just mean consumers, I mean as executives. And 2, you need to ensure that you optimize content for the unique mobile environment. Get on that mobile optimized website, folks. People can download an app, and you need to create apps for different operating systems, iPhones, Androids, Blackberries. But everyone who has a smartphone, and our audiences or executives, they have smartphones, has a web-enabled feature where they go right onto Safari or right onto Google Chrome. So everyone can access your information. Access your own site on your mobile device and see for yourself. Is there too much flash? Because Mr. Jobs, rest in peace, and Mr. Adobe didn't seem to like each other too much, so you can't use flash, but you can use other technologies. Is it like mice type, or is it easily read? Where could you use video versus text? You must optimize mobile for the unique environment. And 2, look at all the good stuff you've already created with your thought leadership, with your articles, with your position papers. How could you reimagine that into an app, into a stream of SMS alerts, into a set of videos and the like, through mobile tools, which, by the way, do not have to be crazy expensive. I'm the smallest company of all. I'm a company of 1, and yet I use 4 mobile tools. I'm telling you, and much to my chagrin, I don't have $1 million budget yet, but I will at some point, and I will spend it on all these great mobile tools, and cute shoes and mobile devices. But the thing is, it's true, sure, it's true. But the thing is there's things you can use right away. I'm using SMS, I'm using QR codes, I'm using mobile websites. I'm using video like crazy to be able to connect with my audience on any time, anywhere devices. And one thing nice about video, by the way, kill 3 birds with 1 stone. You can use it on your website, use it on all your social networks, and it's perfect for the anytime, anywhere small viewing environment. And 3rd, I want you to really take a step back and say, how could our strategies, how could our plans, how could our programs be better, faster, and easier for our audiences? How could we do better by our audiences by making their lives, work tasks, and activities better, faster, and easier, and solve those problems? Because I promise you this, when you make things better, faster, and easier for us, you make an impression. You endear us to you. And there's a way to do that, and it's going to be a different answer for each and every one of your companies. But again, 6 billion mobile subscriptions as of right now. 1 billion of those are smartphones, the others are tablets and feature phones. By 2016, all will be smart. Why? Because now you don't have to wait 4 to 8 hours at the Mac store here on 5th Avenue to get the latest. You can just go to Walmart and get iPhone 3G for $50, or hey, it's free with a contract. The prices have come down so dramatically. So with that said, your world has gone mobile, it's gone mobile, so too must your marketing. This means new tools, new behaviors, new thinking, please new strategies, and to get excited about the opportunities. Because I promise, I would have made it as animated and high energy as possible, but this just wouldn't have been a cool speech if I'd been talking about the fax machine for the last 45 minutes, guys. So get excited about this. Also, I want to call attention to my paper. You can click right on it. I don't even ask for your information. You can just get the PDF right away, but it hits home a lot of the lessons I've given at b2bmobilerevolution.com. I give you 5 imperatives, 10 B2B examples, and 7 videos. That'll help you with a lot of what I've gone over today, and of course I hope get you even more excited about mobile. And if you have any questions or you want any other information, I have a ton of free content. I am a marketing geek to the core at my site of ckb2b.com. I'm at 000, so I'm supposed to end right now, and guess what, on my last slide. I thank you so much for giving me your time. I'm going to be around all day. You got any questions? Want to wonk out on mobile? Doesn't have, you have to twist my arm to talk about it. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate it. And thank you to Demand Gen.